Hey, welcome. I'm super excited to be here with you. This is Mind Rewire. This is my master class on subconscious change. My name is Christy Mattoon. I'm an energy psychology practitioner, Psych K facilitator. I have a list of other certifications under my belt you can check out on my website. But today we're basically going over subconscious change, how I use it in regards, or how we do that in regards to a whole brain state, and how we get you there the quickest, most efficient way possible and get the changes that you want in your life. So if you want to free up your life, you want to live more, live bigger, love bigger, enjoy life more, and you're ready to take the chains off, I want you to grab a pen and a paper and get ready to take some notes. Welcome to this masterclass on rewiring your mind and changing your life. Probably be here for about 45 minutes to an hour. Definitely grab some paper and a pencil and take some notes. This is a lot of information. I've had people told me before it's a little bit heady, but I think it's really important to understand how this works and why you need to change some of the things that you may not realize are affecting your life on such a deep level. It's really interesting once you start to think through it a little bit and you start to notice these patterns and cycles and some of the subconscious belief items that I'm going to talk about. How pervasive they can be in your life and you don't really even know it. And this is also about how easy it is to change it, and that's the coolest part. So this masterclass is dedicated to my former self, a person who didn't know, a person who struggled every day of life because of a past that had nothing to do with her except that she lived in it. What it did was create an environment in her head that led her in circles for the first 40 years of her life. I'm going to be super transparent with you here about my story in order to show you how strong thoughts and beliefs from the subconscious can be. Whether you know that's what's causing your issues or not, it's the unknown sometimes that seems to hurt us the most, the not knowing. So this is for you. If you are tired of fighting with thoughts that are negative, if you're tired of fighting with racing thoughts, a racing mind, if you're tired over getting upset and angry for seemingly no reason, if you are sick of self-sabotage, if you're done calling yourself names and degrading yourself, if you feel like no one ever understands or listens to you, this is for you if you feel totally out of alignment with the goals and plans that you had made for your life. If you want more, but no matter what you do, it never seems good enough. If you are just plain tired of sucking, I had a guy show up the other day and that's exactly what he told me. I'm just tired of sucking. If you're ready to get on with life, this is for you if you're done fighting with things like weight issues, anxiety, depression, and other mental issues, quote unquote, that feel physical. So I want you to see how a stronghold in your life, known or unknown, can cause chaos and mayhem. You may not have any idea what is happening or why. You're just living through chaos and mayhem and negative consequences that come from patterns, cycles, negative thoughts, beliefs, and even memories. Let's talk a little bit about a stronghold. A stronghold is simply something that has a grip on your life and it's causing negative effects. We don't usually relate a stronghold to something positive, and it's something you may have knowledge of or you may not. And either way, you get consequences of this thing. And I'll give you examples of this in my own life and even with other clients of mine as we roll through here. The things that you were taught and believed about yourself as a child emerge into these strongholds. And they may not have been horrible times or situations, but your take on it as a kiddo, as a child, gave you information that your mind is held on to and may not be true for you, the adult. Here's a good example of this. I heard this from another practitioner. He was saying he had a client that had a phobia of hair. And so whatever her issue was with hair, he said it was just really pervasive. She had trouble, as she got older, even going out into public and being around people that were hairy. Imagine what that does in a relationship, even a relationship with your own body. Can you imagine? So very interesting. What they traced it back to was she finally had a memory of going down a slide. It was a super big slide, really high, very scary, but she climbed up to the top, got herself all set to go down. It was scary, but it was exciting, one of those kind of things. And so all the chemicals that are in her system, and she's got, the heartbeat going on. She's probably a little bit sweaty palm, super excited to go down, that fear going on that gives you that edge, right? So she's going down the slide, and there's a guy standing at the bottom of the slide with his arm holding onto the edge, actually, for no reason other than he was waiting for his child to come down the slide. So nothing awful going on, nothing awful happened, but as she came past him, her eyes locked on his hairy arm. And so what they figured out was that her locking onto this hairy arm created this phobia that lasted her whole life. And it locked her out of all kinds of things. But it was quick to get rid of. It was the memory. It was the emotion. She had a little bit of all of it. Didn't have to go deep into it. Just had to find the feeling to it. They detached the emotion and the feeling from the memory, and it cleared up her phobia. Isn't that amazing? Very quick, very cool, right? Freed up her life. So you may have saw, heard, or lived through things that helped you form opinions and beliefs about yourself, about others, and even about the world around you. If these beliefs were not positive or good in nature, they could, to this day, be leading you to believe things about yourself that simply are not true. The more it replays in your life, the more you feel the emotion to it, the more you go through it, through the action or reaction that's caused by this belief, the more it begins to become a stronghold in your life. And it really just seeds in there and starts to take things over. Can you see strongholds in your own life? Do you see things going on in your life that present as patterns, things that happen over and over, seemingly to you? And no matter what you've tried to make them stop, it just creeps back in and they continue? Or you might say that it just starts over again. These are things that you thought you'd gotten rid of or moved on from, things that you've worked on before, probably more than once, but they come back with a vengeance. Why is that? You may have a stronghold in your life that originally had nothing to do with you, much like myself. In my own case, the strongholds that I had in my life originated obviously from my childhood. And what I found out about the time I was 38, between 38 and 40, was I didn't remember my childhood. I didn't even know that wasn't normal. Do you have a sense of anything like this in your life? You might have memory of your childhood, but there might be parts and pieces that you just kind of wonder and you're not real sure about. Or you might have things or issues that surface in your life now that you can totally pinpoint back to your childhood. Those can be strongholds. So I had a stronghold on my life. I had no idea it was even there. I struggled and fought for years over issues and took consequences for things that I had no idea of at the time. I had no idea why they were there, and I had no control over it. If you have evidence of anything like this in your own life, you're in the right place. Some examples of this might be an addiction, weight issues, negative self-talk, bashing yourself, poor self-esteem, lack of personal drive or ambition, fear, confusion about your life, out of control emotions. And that's just to name a few. I'm sure you can come up with more. All right, so let me take the time to introduce myself properly. I don't think I really did that before. My name is Christy Mattoon, and I'm an energy psychologist practitioner. I'm a Psych K facilitator. I do all kinds of techniques and little things, and my goal originally was to figure out the quickest way to get the fastest results, because I truly believe that our bodies and our brains are built to handle the load that we withstand on this planet, to handle the load of the things that go on. And so the question becomes, why aren't we? Why doesn't it work the way it's supposed to work? What's going on in the system that it locks up and starts harboring and hanging on to things? And so my goal was to try and figure out how to trip the system into giving up and releasing the things that we seem to want to hold on to the hardest, that just don't benefit us and don't help us out in the course of our life. So this is my journey and how it started. It was about 10 years of a crazy cycle that basically culminated with me hearing 3 words that basically stopped me in my tracks. So
I went through a very interesting period of my life where pretty much everything that could go wrong did go wrong. I hit around 300 pounds. I had all kinds of autoimmune diseases going on. My body was basically falling apart. I killed a bone in my foot somehow. 4 surgeries later, ended up with a calf that was half dead. So my gastrocnemius was half gone at that point. They had to lengthen my Achilles tendon. That turned into a mess. I don't know, all on up the chain, right? My thyroid was a mess. My blood pressure was a mess. My blood sugar was a mess. Clearly my weight, my cholesterol, like all the things that you can think of that go along with that. And so in clearing that stuff up, part of my journey in doing this was because of that cycle. The reason that some of that stuff happened was exactly what I work on today. It came from a subconscious past that I didn't understand or know, from things coming up into my head that I didn't know how to decipher. And one of those things was these 3 words. And so these 3 words actually were a subconscious thought. What they originated as was something from probably a memory that I had an association to. The memory itself was dripping in neurochemicals of different sorts. So basically it started out as a feeling. So every time I would get triggered, I would have this feeling that would send me into a reaction. Sometimes the reaction was anger. Sometimes it was overwhelming sadness and depression and anxiety. The list was pretty much endless, to the point that my doctor actually told me I was bipolar. And that was just an endless cycle at that point, right? So these words were just something that I said to myself all the time. I actually tried not to pay attention to it when it finally turned into words. Sometimes the words didn't come and it was just that feeling again. I had no idea why I was saying this to myself or why I was feeling this way, but it was very natural. And I had never honestly heard myself say anything else, which is crazy and weird, especially now looking back at it. Sometimes I just felt like crap and I hated my life. I heard others say good things about me, and actually all of the time I heard a lot of good things being said about myself, but their words were different. They were indifferent in my heart. It didn't make any sense to me because they weren't part of my subconscious patterning, and they weren't a part of the beliefs in my head. So we're going to do that over. So these words were a subconscious thought. I actually believe they started out as a feeling that I felt. It probably started out as something that happened, an issue or a circumstance. I translated that over time into this thought that I came up with. But it started out with this feeling that I just felt. It was very pervasive. It was something that I ended up feeling and saying to myself all the time. I actually tried not to pay attention to it for the longest time. I had no idea why I felt the way I felt. Sometimes the words just wouldn't come, and so it was all just about the feelings I had. And of course, that never made sense to doctors, and even to myself, it didn't make any sense. I had no idea why I would say the things I was saying to myself, but it was very natural. And I never heard myself say anything else. And sometimes I just felt like crap, and I just basically hated my life. And I actually heard other people saying good things about me all the time. So it never really made any sense. It was me feeling one way, other people perceiving and saying different things about me, and all it did was cause a lot of confusion. Their words were different to me, and they weren't part of my subconscious. And they definitely weren't, the words themselves were not a part of my belief system. So it was very interesting trying to sift through. So what is the subconscious mind, and how does this all work? When you have stuff like that going on, it makes a difference sometimes if you understand a little bit about it. So let's dig into that. Your system of beliefs come from your past experiences, and that can be very confusing, especially if you don't realize what's going on or why, just like the position I was in. Your past experience is stored in your subconscious mind below the level of consciousness. It stores memories, which becomes your beliefs and gives you cause to act the way that you do. Sometimes if you're caught in a home of negative self-talk, it comes from those past experiences. Your thoughts, beliefs, and memories are the basis for your actions and reactions to each situation in your life. And you get to choose how to act or react, right? You always have a choice. So we're talking about concepts, and we're also talking about real physical areas of your brain. This to me is where it gets super fun and interesting. I really like this stuff. So let's go into the mind a little bit. What is the mind? The mind, where it's located, is thought of to be outside of the brain, not in relationship to the body. So this is the part of yourself, of your being, that gives you new information. It's those aha moments, like original ideas, the thinking of new original thoughts. This is basically about your mind, will, and emotions. This is what we call your soul. Okay, that's your mind. Your brain, on the other hand, is inside your head. This is a physical functioning part. It's a processor. It processes information. It stores information, so it's a storage locker. It runs your physical body function, and it has tons of functions that we probably really don't even know about or what they actually do. But for our purposes today, what we're looking at the brain for is a processor and a storage locker. So subconscious mind and conscious mind, it's not defined where those are. Think about that for a second. Where are they located? Are they located in the brain? So we just talked about the mind as its own little entity that's outside of the body. The brain is part of your physical body. And now we're talking about the subconscious mind and the conscious mind. Where are those located? It doesn't really matter, but either way, they're part of the electrical circuitry that runs and regulates the physical body. And here's why. The conscious mind, by the dictionary definition, is actually an awareness of, and it responds to, one's surroundings. It makes you awake. Right? Having knowledge of something, you're aware. So the conscious mind is aware of and responds to your surroundings. So it has to do with the outside environment, everything around you. Your subconscious mind, according to the dictionary, is the part of the mind which one is not fully aware, but it influences your actions and your feelings. This is a dictionary definition. So subconscious mind influences actions and feelings. The subconscious mind holds on to beliefs, thoughts, words spoken, emotional value, and that comes from the chemical expression of your body, impressions, smells, pictures, sensations. These become memories, and it becomes a reality of what many people think about themselves. It becomes the reason for what we do and don't do or have resistance to in our lives. So let's talk for a second about neural pathways and plasticity. This is something we're starting to hear more and more about in relation to epigenetics and genes. So neural pathways and plasticity actually create physically, on a physiological level, help you create these memories. The ones that are accessed the most, so we're talking about the neural pathways, the ones that are accessed the most are the ones that get strong and become the strongholds. I should say strongholds. So what happens inside your body when you think a thought from your mind to your brain, you're getting a physical connection from a protein and a neuron bonding together, creating the neuroplasticity that lays down in a track called a neural pathway. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And this is how you create a habit where you get really, really good at something, right? Or where you can actually take it apart in the sense that we're looking at it. So within this neuroplasticity and these neural pathways, you basically create your life. And if you're living out of a storage locker of these that had a lot of issues, a lot of trauma, a lot of events that caused mayhem in your life, the beliefs that you're holding on to about that is what's causing the problems in your life at the age that you are now in your current life. So here's the reality. Your conscious mind controls about 5% of your daily thinking activity. Your conscious mind, remember, that was the part of the mind that's aware. It's aware of your surroundings. That controls about 5% of your daily thinking activity. The other 95% is subconscious. That's the part that you're not aware of, but it controls your actions and your feelings. It's 95%. If that comes from a home that was in abuse or had turmoil or had issues or problems, and even if you did it, even from a 5-year-old perspective, if it was just something your mother said, your father did, that you took a certain way because of your age at that time and it locked into that neuroplasticity, imagine the chaos and confusion, and you might not have to imagine, you probably live it every day, that could cause. If the subconscious thinking comes from trauma, pain, bad thoughts, beliefs, or memories of any kind, and it's 95% of your perception about the world, about yourself, and these negative pathways are the ones that you go to the most, so they're the most active. What kind of life do you think that person would have? What kind of life do you live? Right? Think about that for a second. Look inside your own life. And don't get emotionally involved just right now, but look inside yourself and take an outsider's look in and see if you notice where this could apply to you. Do you see any place where this makes sense, where it applies to maybe what you're going through? Let's talk a little bit about the difference between subconscious change tools. So you hear a lot about ways to change the subconscious mind, to change the brain, and then traditional tools and things that people use. So the traditional tools would be things like affirmations, talk therapy, positive thinking, willpower, reading self-help books, making vision boards, writing in journals, and visualizing. All of these are predominantly limited to the conscious mind at the level of awareness. So when you're doing these, you're actively working in the conscious mind, which is only 5% of your daily thinking. So, and it's not that these are bad things to do. These are all awesome things to do. I promote them. I love them. I do a lot of them myself. Have done some that I don't do currently. I've done them in the past at some point. Not saying anything bad about them, but I just want you to know they do not necessarily affect the subconscious mind. They work at a level of consciousness. Once you get repetitive enough at it, that's when you can actually touch the subconscious. So these all can be helpful, but they're seriously limited in their effectiveness. If the conscious mind processes were all that were needed to change the subconscious mind, we would already be doing and being all that we wanted, right? Does that make sense? These are all great tools, but they take time, right? And here's the repetition. Once you do it over and over and over, that's when you can start to seed it into your subconscious mind, right? So they take repetition when trying to clear out the negative input of the subconscious. So clearing out the negative subconscious stuff that's there takes a continuous process and continuous repetition in the conscious mind. So remember, subconscious mind was that part that you're not aware of, but it controls feelings and actions. So let's talk about subconscious beliefs for a second. According to the dictionary, let's see here, the part of the mind, so this is subconscious mind again. So subconscious belief. What is a subconscious belief? A subconscious belief is that belief that is formed inside your mind So let's talk about a subconscious belief for a minute, right? If we have a subconscious mind and it's storing all this stuff, what is a subconscious belief? So an incident happens, something happens, and around that you interject into your system all the neurochemicals that come along with it when the thing happens. And if they're negative and they stick in there and you keep replaying that thing over and over in your mind, you're going to seal it in. That's when it starts turning into neuroplasticity. Over time, that memory of that thing happening and what you assign to it, the value that you assign to it, turns into a belief. Over time, that belief may turn into something that you actually believe about yourself, about the world around you, and it's going to throw you into moving and living life the way that you do based on what happened to you as a child. So from the mind and thinking new thoughts and having new experiences to the brain, the storage locker, neuroplasticity is the protein and neuron bond that forms in your brain every time you think a thought. Every time you think that same thought, another bond is created. So you're creating a chain. On a scan, it's described as looking like a branch of a tree. And that's according to the work of Dr. Caroline Leaf. So you can look at that. They actually have scans of these, and it looks like tree branches that grow out through your mind. Sometimes they're in clusters, and these clusters actually can have branches that branch off and trail off into other places, so connecting different clusters together. We used to hear about it as a loop, right? You have a loop of negativity going on. You've heard that before. Think of everyday experiences as far as input for your brain, and your actions and thoughts as the output. A feedback loop is formed. The old cliche about a computer software, garbage in, garbage out, applies to all feedback loops. Toxic experiences shape the brain quite differently from healthy ones, and they shape your reality quite differently too, right? So they also shape your actions and reactions. Whether it's positive or negative, you're going to act and react differently and have different interaction with everything around you. So you can look at it like this. If we're talking about the loop idea, the negative thoughts are inward and collapsing, and you can feel this in your system. I want you to take a look at this negative loop. Just kind of stare down into the center of it for a second. And as you keep thinking the thought about this negative, whatever the thing is, right, it digs itself deeper and deeper. It's making the hole go deeper and deeper every time it plays over in your mind. And what does it do? It holds you captive. And you can feel that inside your system. On the other side, you've got these positive thoughts, right? If you have a positive, expressive, outward thought process going on, what does that feel like? Think of a happy memory. Think of some time in your life when there was something really cool going on. And then look at this positive loop. It's light, it's open, it's outward, and the same way that the negative one works, this one works the same way too. It digs itself deeper and deeper in an open, expressive way every time it plays over in your mind, and it holds you captive. The same exact way, positive or negative. The interesting part is you can't do both at the same time. It's either one or the other. I was with a bunch of kiddos the other day at our church school, and we were kind of playing a game. We were tasting different foods, and so we were playing this game with the food. If you didn't like it, you had to smile while you were eating it. And you had to think positive thoughts about it. Some of the kids in the middle of trying this food actually changed their mind about not liking it just because they were having a more positive experience. My guess would be because they were actually getting positive neurochemicals into their system while they were smiling and saying positive things about the food that they thought they didn't like. Kind of interesting how that works. So the feedback loop, basically, we feel like this is common sense, but now there's actually neuroscience that backs this up. It joins forces with genetics to reveal that right down to the level of DNA, the feedback loop that embraces mind and body is profoundly changed by the input processed by the brain, and that's by the work of Dr. Rudolf Tanzi. So how does this work? Your brain, think of it like it's a storage locker. It collects all the information and it files it away for later use. But most of us aren't filing these things away. They're left out, and it's just kind of open, and they're flying around in your head in disarray. This can happen for many reasons, but the big thing is that we can actually do something about it. So what does that do in your life? It causes mayhem, chaos, disorder, frustration, physical illness, depression, confusion, anxiety. The list is probably endless. Just like my client Sherry, who came to me to get help with ongoing problems that were causing anxiety, confusion, frustration. And she had this overall sense that she was just stuck, and no matter what she tried to do, she couldn't get it done. So she decided that she wanted to really get in there and try and take control of her life, right? She does law of attraction. She uses other modalities, and none of them just seemed helpful enough. She practices them all the time, but it doesn't get her to where she wants to get to. So she became my star pupil, actually, actively working and going after big releases to clear up her fights in her head and in her life, right? So we went through and did a whole bunch of work, Sherry and I did, and her dream is to open a business where she's actually doing feng shui in people's homes and offices and helping them make differences in their own life based on her being able to help them move and clear energy out of their spaces. And she's actively working towards this now because she got the rest of her life junk out of the way. Her feeling stuck is gone, her anxiety is gone, and the issues that she caused inside of herself are gone. She's now working on other issues that happened in the meantime. So we caused those physical illnesses, weight problems, and that can take some time to work off, but that's exactly where she's at now. So think in terms of patterns, thoughts, memories. Can you name anything in your life that may be a subconscious issue? So patterns can be anything, like think to yourself about things you might say to yourself, like missing the old times. I have a client that misses the old times terribly. She went through a terrible divorce and actually an ongoing situation. And coming out the other side, missing the old times and being stuck inside of that has just caused her grief, pain, suffering, anxiety, and a terrible sadness. And some people might say, well, you're just going through the process. She'd been going through this process for quite a while, so it was time to get in there and clean it up. So what she was asking for was to be able to stop thinking about her ex all the time. The past, the fights, right? The ongoing situation that actually had ended, but it was ongoing in her head. So do you see negative thoughts or phrases that you may say over and over to yourself? Her phrase was, I miss the old times, and she repeated it so often that's where she lived. Is there places in your life that you'd like to just change? That you've tried to change? That you've tried to move and get over, but you find yourself stuck? Just like another client of mine that came in with PTSD. He tried EMDR, somatic therapy, equine therapy, and they had some effect. He said they were good things. It wasn't a bad experience, but they never cut to the quick of it, and he would end up back in the cycles again. He reported to me the other day, he's felt more free and more positive than he has in a long time. And he desires to make moves that he once was very indifferent to. That's kind of cool. He's deciding to do things that he was indifferent to. His confidence is greater. He said that an area where he had to go into a meeting at work, and normally he would just sit back and kind of hide in the corner, he actually stepped up because his confidence has gotten so big. That's exciting stuff, and that's big changes. That was one session with this young man. One time I worked with him. So what does your subconscious do? Basically, it reminds you of where you've been. It doesn't know time. It doesn't base its judgments on age. And if you're living through the lens of what happened when you were, say, 5 years old, and your brain isn't realizing that you're now 39, 42, 53, 60, you may have some serious struggles going on. Just like my client Patty, at 64, she was stuck in physical pain and mental anguish that kept her stalled out at what she called her life. Her life had turned into physical pain, and releasing a memory from childhood and implanting powerful words and statements over that child's self, she was able to unlock and release a load that actually took the physical pain out of her knees and gave her back a sense to move forward into what she thought was next for her. She was able to start trying to get onto her lifelong path, her journey, her dream. So no one will say indefinitely where the subconscious mind sits, but your subconscious beliefs come from your subconscious mind. These thoughts, beliefs, and memories are based on your neuroplasticity, what you've created, that physical matter in your head. Remember, neuroplasticity is created when a protein and a neuron come together and make a bond. Positive or negative, you create based on your thoughts and experience. It happens every time you think a thought. At any age, you're either building new neuroplasticity or you are adding on to old stuff. This becomes your beliefs, it becomes memories or from memories, and that can affect you the rest of your life. If you're using the storage locker to access information and that information drives reactions to the things that you do in your life, you could find yourself in issues and struggles that seem senseless. What would it be like if life was like a clean slate? Picture a clean slate, this nice white clean slate. Instead of accessing old information, you could now live in a place of now, in the moment, with a clean board. And information flowed easily from your mind and was expressed and experienced based in real time instead of the past. What would that feel like for you? So what's going on in your life right now that you can look at and say, I wish I would just quit doing that? Why does this keep happening to me? How does this happen? I can't stop doing it even though I know it's bad. So let's think about patterns for a minute. How about a pattern of anger? A pattern in anger can emerge, or you can see this when something to this effect. When you're in your day and everything is fine, but something happens or somebody walks up to you, and in this situation, this gal, somebody would walk up behind her and very innocently put their hand on her back because they were moving or trying to move around her, and she would just fly off the handle at them, and called it one of her seemingly little quirks, just the way she was, but one release one time from a past issue that we didn't even really know what was, we just knew it was something from her childhood, released that problem, and now people can touch her back. How about a pattern of overwhelming sadness, of loss, of holding on to something, and for this gal it was a doll that was so special, but her mother had no idea. And so it was given away in a bag of stuff one day without a thought, without this young lady knowing, and now she hoards everything thinking that it's going to be gone, and she lives in fear that she's going to lose what she has. But once the memory was detached from the emotion surrounding it, her hoarding problem was gone also. She was able to let go of that. How about a pattern of rejection? Your mom not being around, she may have been a drug addict or in jail. Your dad hated you, he didn't know what to do with you, and so it came out, the way you viewed it as hate. Maybe you lived with your mom, but she chose guys all the time over you. And so as an adult, you start rejecting everyone and pushing back and pushing everybody away because you don't want to get hurt anymore, and you don't want to live in a situation where they might walk out and leave you again. How about a pattern of addiction? This one was specifically gambling, and after one clear to what I call mama drama issues, the gambling addiction left with a multitude of other things. That one was actually mine. That happened. That one happened for me. It was craziness. That was about 9 years ago. So think in terms of cycles, patterns, self-sabotage. What's going on right now in your life that you can look at, that you can point at and say, I wish that would stop? Do you relate to any of that? Do you see repeated cycles, patterns, thoughts that are negative, harmful, demeaning? Do you say bad things to yourself? Do you call yourself names? Do you cut yourself down? Maybe have beliefs that are unrealistic or absolutely make no sense, but you have to adhere to them and live by them anyway. Are you aware of it? Can you point it out? Can you call it out? Can you put words to it, or is it just a feeling? Because here's the truth. Either way, Mind Rewire will help you work to clear it. Do you know where it comes from in your history? Do you know the thoughts that are not benefiting you? The beliefs that you form as a child or formed as a child and hold on to like they're truth, but in reality, they may have been just somebody else's mess, and it turned into your life, but it didn't start out that way. So let me demystify a few lies. The problem is that most people want a process, and we are so hardwired to believe there needs to be a process. I'm going to take a few minutes in a moment. I'll ask your permission if I can tell you about Mind Rewire. And here's the cool thing about it. The process itself only takes maybe 2 or 3 minutes to clear one issue. Isn't that something? Isn't that amazing? Is that something you think you'd be interested in? Here's another lie. It took a while to create, and it's going to take a while to undo. 2 to 3 minutes for an issue that may have been lasting you a lifetime. Some of my clients, my oldest client was 74 years old. How about this lie? You have to learn how to deal with it. It's teaching you a lesson. Well, I think you probably got your lesson. Let's get rid of that and move on so you can actually live in life the way it was meant to be lived in. Here's a secret, and I just want to tell you this because somebody was gracious enough to me at one point to finally tell it to me. It's not your fault. Your life is a mess because of thoughts and beliefs that are stuck in your subconscious mind, and you probably had little or no idea. You get to be 100% responsible for it, and you also have to take 100% authority of it. You'll probably have consequences. You've probably been living with the consequences. You may have a bit of a mess to clean up, but it's not your fault. But I want you to know there is things we can do about it. So how do we undo it? The undoing is the easy part. Just like my client Tone, he came to me saying that he was a player in the stock market, but he has a hard time pulling the switch. He could never make himself do it. And it stretched other places into his life too, not just with the stock market. He said he has to watch the market for a long time, and he would see in hindsight too many times that he actually knew the right thing to do, but he could never get himself to do it. He was too scared. He was scared of the thought of loss, and then he would sit there and say, but that wasn't really the problem. But it is what made sense, and so he seemed to use it like it was an excuse. While we were using Mind Rewire and in session one day, he actually came up with a memory that gave him a very sick feeling. And he said, if I think about it, every time I've remembered this in the past, it had that same sick feeling to it. So it comes up every time he wants to make a big change in his life. The memory was of an aunt who gave him a shiny dime. He was so excited to have this shiny dime. He got to hold it in his hand, and then suddenly his loving mother came up and swiftly grabbed it right out of his palm and sternly told him that she'd be holding on to it so he wouldn't lose it. He told me he spent a lot of time after that reasoning why he couldn't keep the dime safe. She was probably right, he finally told himself. I'll just lose it. And as an adult, he attached that to a lot of things. And of course, it was attached to all of his money. It can really make a life hard when you live afraid of always losing. No matter what the loss is or what you think it's going to be, that's a tough way to live.
So knowing all that, here's the question. How do we undo it? The undoing is actually the easy part. I teach you how to feel your system that regulates the chemical fluctuations in your body. And what I mean by your system is your physical body. We get inside, you get to feel what your body feels like in different circumstances, different emotions, different triggers, and you can actually feel the chemical fluctuations. Once you can feel those chemical fluctuations, we have quite a bit of room to be able to move around from thought to thought, issue to issue. And if you're paying attention, you get to feel it even more, and you'll learn how to feel it even quicker. I teach you how to get into a whole brain state, and that's actually what is going to unlock the problems and the neuroplasticity inside the brain. We get into this whole brain state to the specific issues, to the emotion, to the feeling, even to the idea of something that you think is causing an issue or a stronghold in your life. The whole brain state causes the brain to seek stability to the issue. So when we get into this whole brain state, your brain literally has to seek new stability in order to work through the issue. Maybe you could say it even jumps tracks, like jumping the tracks of the neural pathways, to create a new pathway in order to create that stability that you're looking for. And also, by the way, the new perception that you end up with. It happens right here. This happens in 2 to 5 minutes, if it takes that long. Here's what this will mean to you. You feel better. My client Wilda says it's amazing. Shamina says she felt so different she wasn't really sure what to do. She pulled the linchpin on the first balance we did. And she stood back and just went, wow, my brain has never been so silent. I'm not sure what to do in the silence. So she got to learn how to relax. You'll be able to relax. Depression, anxiety, anger, sadness, grief, all of these things start to fall off. You'll be able to get in deeper into the life that you want. If you're a meditator, if you do affirmations, this technique helps you get in deeper to those things. We can actually use your affirmations, the ones you've been holding on to for years, as seeds into the subconscious mind. Isn't that cool? You'll start achieving your lifetime goals. You'll start being able to make plans to work towards them instead of just standing there watching life go by. It's a new sense of well-being. It's confidence, it's hope, it's a way to move forward so that you can activate whatever you want in your life. You can activate this technique whenever you need it in your life. The I'm afraid, the fear, those negative emotions and negative feelings are left behind, and what you feel, what you get is a sense of boldness, a sense of courageousness, and some momentum in your life to move and do whatever it is that you want. Doesn't that sound awesome? almost too good to be true. This is my client, Lawrence. He says, I must say the technique has been successful in eliminating negative thoughts as well as sleep disturbances. Lawrence was really, really skeptical of this. He says, I wouldn't have believed it if I didn't experience it. Christy is very professional, yet very easy to talk to. She moved me through the technique at my pace. Her follow-up sessions are also good. He said, overall, I have less attachment to impressing others, which was a big issue. He has clearer thinking, less dwelling on negativity, more fluid thinking, an increased ability to let things go. Doesn't that sound awesome? Isn't that something you would want in your life? He says he also noticed that he's less attached to labeling himself as something, but instead as a person who chooses to do something, which is freeing. Isn't that awesome? This is a typical thing that I hear from people after Mind Rewire. So here's the rest of my story. Here's what I found out. Remember those 3 words I told you about that I was saying to myself? I'm going to share those with you in just a minute. I, to this day, can only speculate where they came from or how this happened based on sibling testimony, and it's fine. Gratitude and forgiveness are in the process for a reason, and they go a long way. But the 3 words that I was saying to myself were, I hate you. It was so pervasive. It started out as a feeling. I could feel this anger, resentment, hate, bitterness in pretty much every area of my life. And it took over everything in my life. It was always aimed at me. I always aimed it at myself, but I apparently learned it really super well. And it translated into hating my life. I hated my life, even when I had 2 great kids. I had a hard-working, providing, loving husband that I still have, by the way, to this day. A beautiful home, a well-paying job, and a couple of really smart dogs. I was surrounded by a community of awesome people who had no idea of the suffer that I was going through or the pain that I had. Nothing for me ever made sense until I got so sick, literally physically sick. I had autoimmune diseases. I was killing bones in my body. One of my calves atrophied pretty badly from surgeries from my foot. It was an absolute mess. Thyroid issues, blood sugar issues, skin cancers. Absolute mess. And I know you know what I'm talking about because all of us seem to be in the same boat at this point. But what also happened for me was I got super sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was able to finally look at it and call it out. I was just done with all the crap in my life. I started reading and taking courses and watching videos, anything that I could get my hands on that would give me some sense of a better way. I did more certifications and different things than I care to even count at this point. I took more classes, went to see more different kinds of people, from psychology doctors to shamans, across the board, studying under them, studying with them, even just doing their technique and sitting there trying to pay attention while they were working with me. And a lot of the times I would do the certification courses just for the knowledge. I wouldn't even get the certification. It was more just to see, okay, what's faster? How do you do this quicker? Because for me, sitting in an office for therapy for 8 years just took way too long. And what it culminated in for me was realizing that he had no idea either. But it led me to things like energy work, like tapping, Reiki, EMDR, brain integration techniques, and so many other things. Associative awareness technique, Splankna. You can go to my website for a list if you want to. But it's crazy, the understanding that I came to was that this had to be different than what it was, different than what it appeared, and it needed to be faster. So this is how it works. What it all turned into for me was a really good prayer and a relationship with God, with my Creator, and knowing how to balance anything from the standpoint of the matter that you create in your brain and how to use your physical body to clear it. It is how your system works. We use a whole brain state. You can put yourself into it easily. We actually do it naturally, and some of us were actually taught to not do it, and we'll go into that. Do you know how powerful you are? Do you know how powerful your system is? You've probably heard this before, but I want to take your hand and show you how. I want to lead you, quote unquote, to the promised land and show you how easy this is to do. Remember, there's no fault here. Things happen. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be bashful. You got caught up with a brain full of non-benefiting thoughts and beliefs and memories. There's no condemnation, so you can quit beating yourself up, but it's time to start cleaning it up. Here's what you need to know. The negative thoughts, beliefs, and memories can be taken apart easily and stored away or gotten rid of in minutes. The new thoughts, beliefs, and patterns can be built that will benefit your life and the path that you want to be on forever. You can put them in there and you can blow them out into the future. It is the coolest thing. God gave you everything you need to be able to change. You have everything on board to heal your mind and your body. And it doesn't matter which you start with. The work of one will affect the other. If you start here, doing this kind of work is going to help your nutrition process. It's going to help your body healing process. If you start with nutrition to heal your body, your mind eventually, your brain has to come along board at some point or you're not going to get through the process. If you keep coming at it from that angle and it's not working, take a step back and come at it from this angle and see if we can chisel at it from this direction so that you can start to benefit your body with the nutrition that you need to heal the diseases and the problems that you have. Does that make sense? At every angle, don't just come at it from one arena. Come at it from every angle possible to become the best you that you can possibly be. I am so passionate about this. I love this work so much. It was handed to me basically as a gift from God, I believe. All of the things I've learned, all the money I paid for all these courses have just culminated together, shaken out the stuff that took too long, shake out the stuff that's just not even necessary, and it's come down to this really super simple, easy process. Take out the negative, put in the positive. It is easy to do. God calls it renewing your mind. We have a country full of people with out of control problems and illnesses from mental to physical, and I think, yes, spiritual also. And most folks have no idea why. Some of it is from trauma and issues of life. Some of it may be from other things like time, like relatives and family ties. It gets super interesting. So this is why I created Mind Rewire, Tools for Subconscious Change. So from all of the things that I've learned and studied, I've brought together the best parts into a simple, quick, efficient method that anybody can learn and incorporate into a practice for life. I have put all of this into a course. It's an 8-week course called Mind Rewire. So I'm going to ask your permission now to tell you a little bit about this course and what this all looks like. Mind Rewire is an 8-week course. It's tools for subconscious change. It gives you a method, a process, and teaches you how to practice it and implement it into your life. You end up with a new mentality towards life and how all of this can work. The goal is self-sufficiency. How do you clear your subconscious mind the quickest, most reliable way that gives you the longest lasting results? And be able to keep doing it whenever the need arises. Whenever the need arises, life is going to keep happening no matter what you learn how to do or don't learn how to do. Right? Energy moves, people do things, stuff happens, you're going to do stuff. And if you let it simmer into your brain and turn into neuroplasticity and hardwire into your life and turn into a stronghold, then you've got a mess to go back and clean up. If you can take care of it in the moment, if it's something that you can take care of it in the moment, why wouldn't you want to do that? This is how powerful this technique is. Mind Rewire incorporates the use of the quickest, most effective, long-lasting protocol I've ever used. It uses the nature of how your brain works. It works by building and taking apart neuroplasticity. We are talking about the subconscious mind here. Take out the stuff that isn't functioning in your life and seed in the good things that you want. Remember those affirmations you wrote on cards and carried around for years that you taped to your mirror and taped to the refrigerator? Those become seeds. We can actually seed them in. So here's Mind Rewire. It's an 8-week course. It starts with 8 modules. The first one is Great Beginnings. It's an awareness and knowing your why. It has an area on functional foundations. because without these functional foundations, and we're talking about breath and hydration and just super simple things that most people don't do well. So we go through all of these things to start with. Module 2 is about learning the language of your body. Learning the language of your body is where we're actually feeling the chemical fluctuations of emotions. You're feeling those chemicals go up and down in your system, and then learn what it is you can do with that. Module 3 is on writing clear, strong statements. This is about affirmations. How do you write them? What do you do once you've written them? Is all we can do is carry them around inside our pocket? I say not. I say seed them into your subconscious mind. Module 4 is on the balance procedure itself. It's that whole brain state. You learn how to use it, what it is, how to get into it, how to seal the process. Module 5 is seeding the mind. So it's more about seeds and how to do that. In different ways you can actually do it. It's very interesting. Seeding the mind is a cool thing to do. Module 6 is on epigenetics and an understanding. So a little bit of the science behind some of this. Module 7 is called I Take Authority, and it's how to take authority over your life. How do you do that? Why would you want to do that? What's the point? Why is it necessary? I take authority, very important. Module 8's what's next? What's next? What do you do next? Once you've got some of the subconscious stuff out of your mind and you're implementing what you want, what is next? It's a good question. It's a lot of fun when you start realizing the power that's inside your own system. So it's crazy amazing to me. I hope you can see how I feel this is so powerful and crazy cool. You can change your neuroplasticity. There's no doubt about it. You can change it. There's enough science on it. We know this for a fact. Your negative thoughts, if they're destructive and driving any of your issues or disease, let's take that apart and change it out. You can change them and see what symptoms change in your life, the patterns. Maybe it's literal symptoms to your physical issues, to your disease process. And you get to step back and just notice in your life what feels different. And everybody sees different things. I have people call me back and go, what on earth? Like I, walked into a meeting and took control of a meeting that normally I sit in the corner and hide. I went to a mall and actually walked around and was able to smile and enjoy the walk instead of being shoved against the wall and trying to keep from touching people. Maybe it's, I went to my mom's house and actually sat down and was okay just sitting there in front of her. It's interesting the things that people notice. I have a client, a good friend of mine actually, and she works in a school and had trouble hearing her name. She didn't realize that's what the problem was. She just knew she kept getting angrier and angrier and angrier. And it was because every time somebody called out her name, the pressure of hearing that, she knew that they wanted something. And altering that perception for her was huge. It was huge. Not only saved her job, but it calmed her down. She said it actually helped in her relationship because it wasn't just happening at school. It was anybody, anywhere who called her name. Right? Big differences when you can change those kind of things easily. It's powerful when your subconscious mind releases a stronghold in your life, or even just a belief that doesn't benefit you, a thought, an old memory that keeps coming back to haunt you that you just don't need to keep reliving over and over. So you can't speak glory and hate at the same time. We know this, right? You can't. If you're happy, you're not sad. If you're depressed and anxiety-ridden, you're not happy and joyful. It's either one or the other. And the goal is to eliminate the negative and insert the positive and then make you self-sufficient so you can redo it whenever you need to. It's something, if something is stuck in your subconscious mind, no matter what it's related to, I want you to know you have the power to change it. Do you know that? Do you know you can change these things easily? And my guess is you've done a lot of work on this stuff before. I've worked with Reiki people. I've worked with psychologists, with hypnotists. I've had quite a few hypnotists come through who just didn't quite believe what they were doing for whatever reason. I've worked with Christians. I've worked with atheists. I can't even tell you the realm of people. Nobody is exempt from the power of their subconscious mind. Nobody. But when you know how it works and how you can use it to benefit your life, the difference is astounding. So again, this is Mind Rewire Tools for Subconscious Change, and then I'll tell you how you can either get this or how you can contact me. So remember, it's this 8-week course. So module 1 is great beginnings. It's awareness, knowing your why, and all these functional foundations to help start getting your body ready. Module 2 is learning the language of your body. Module 3 is writing these clear, strong statements. Module 4 is about balancing. This is the actual balance procedure in the whole brain state. Module 5 is seeding your mind. Module 6 is about epigenetics and the science. It's just a great understanding. Module 7 is about taking authority in your life. And Module 8 is what's next. What do I do now? What can I do? How far can you take this? It gets pretty fun. So there's 2 ways to work with me. The first way is through Mind Rewire, the 8-week course. It is an online course and it's delivered digitally. That was hard to say. It's an online course that's delivered digitally. Plus, you get group lessons live weekly. So in these lessons, it's a live lesson. So we'll go through a lesson, we'll go through something, and then it's a Q&A. So you get to ask questions live, get them answered. We can actually do work on these sessions. I work over Skype all the time with people. We'll probably be in a Zoom room for this kind of stuff. But when we're doing this, if you have work that you're just like, okay, I'm not really sure how to go about this, we'll go ahead and do a few sessions live. And if you're bold and not afraid, what I usually tell people in these sessions is you can piggyback on each other's clears. If it pertains to you and you've got some essence of it, clear it from yourself also. It's kind of fun, actually. The second way you can work with me is through Mind Rewire Mastery. The Mastery program is a 6-month commitment where you also get the Mind Rewire online course. You can still jump in on the group lessons that are live weekly, but this 6-month commitment is to clear up the life issues that are stopping you. During this 6 months, we go deep. You have homework coming into the first session. So that first session, if you get your homework done, we start clearing patterns immediately. Are you ready for that? Are you ready to take a deep dive and start getting the junk out of your subconscious mind and clearing your life up? If you're ready to start today, I want you to go here. This will start you on a fast track to subconscious change. This is mindrewire.com/order now. This will get you the 8-week course. Okay? If you want to contact me, please feel free at Christy@mindrewire.com. Again, if you want to just start now and you're ready to jump in, this is mindrewire.com. This will get you the 8-week course and the live sessions. So if you're ready and want to know more, this is going to start you on the fast track to subconscious change too, but you're going to talk to me personally. And I'll help you decide what's best, if it's Mind Rewire the course or Mind Rewire Mastery. There is quite a bit of a price difference, and I won't lie to you about that. When you get me personally, I put 125% into every session. I show up beforehand and start working to make sure we're on track and getting things cleared up and keep moving in the direction that you want to go. And I do things even when we're not in session that help keep moving the process move forward. So I put a lot into this mastery program for the one-on-one clients. If that's something you want, know that the price point is quite a bit different, but go ahead to meetme.so/mindrewire. Anybody who goes here, I want you to know this is my schedule desk, and what you're going to do is book that 30-minute free session. Because what we'll do is I'll help you personally. I'll take the time to talk to you to help you decide if it's right for you. And I won't lie to you about this either. I have had some people contact me that I have told, I don't think this program is right for you. So if you contact me and I tell you that, I'll apologize, but if it's not right, it's not right. If we're not a good fit, we're not a good fit. And I want to make sure that you get the best fit possible, because if this isn't it, you need to continue your search. If this sounds like something that's going to really work for you, and it sounds like something that I think will really help you and get you to the point you want to get to, then I'll go ahead and tell you how it all works and how you can get started. Okay, so if you want that appointment, go to meetme.so/mindrewire and go ahead and book that appointment today. So that's for, you can book that for either one if you want to just talk a little bit more about the 8-week course, if you need help there, or if you just want to go ahead and book the appointment to talk about the mastery program. So there's a comment section. You can leave a note either way what you want to do. So here you are one last time. MindRewire.com is my website. MindRewire.com/order-now will take you to the order page for the 8-week course with the guaranteed live group sessions every week. meetme.so/mindrewire will take you to my schedule desk. Book that 30-minute appointment and I'll talk to you about the mastery program and let you know if I feel like it's right for you. Take a look at this. I'm telling you, this is the fastest, most efficient way I've ever seen to clear out subconscious issues. You will love it once you start. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm going to go ahead and bug out. This was great. I love talking to people about this stuff. You can always send me an email too at Christy@mindrewire.com. That's my email, Christy@mindrewire.com. I try to reply within a couple of days. I do get a lot of emails, so be patient with me. Let me know what you're thinking. I'd love to talk to you. Peace and be well.